friends, we're back.
Welcome back to another episode of We're Not Fine.
We're really, really not fine. What's today's episode about, Doug?
Oh my God, I love this topic. You know, inevitably, like every topic we cover, we have experience in our practice. And I really, really love this topic today. It's about couples where the ambition level or the success level, I'm going to add, the motivational level, like what drives you in this life, when those are different at different levels. And I love this conversation because it occurs a ton in our practices. There is no way that ambition and success can be exactly the same for two people that are in a relationship. So it's always about kind of understanding what that is. And that's income level, it's education level, it's occupational level, it's just in general how you live your life. Like someone who works out every day versus someone who can get to the gym once a week, whatever it might be. There's so many different factors here. But yes, I love this topic.
It's a great conversation. And
it is.
The question is like, does it matter? How much does it matter? Is it a problem? Isn't it a problem? So we're going to dive in.
I can't wait.
Another mailbag episode, which you know how much we love that. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to call her Lily. I'm a 32-year-old lawyer at a bustling law firm, and I've always been incredibly ambitious. My career is a huge part of my identity, and I thrive on challenges and opportunities to climb the ladder. I live and breathe my work. I find it very fulfilling. Okay, my boyfriend is 34. We're going to call him Jesse. We've been together for 4 years. He's wonderfully nurturing and supportive. He works as a high school math teacher. We were just talking about high school math teachers, and is very passionate about it, but he has no interest in advancing or taking on additional responsibilities. He's perfectly happy with the idea of being a high school teacher forever. We're considering starting a family in the next couple of years. I've been reflecting a lot about how different we are in terms of drive and ambition and what that means for our future. So here's what I'm wondering. Is it better for both of us to be on the same page, or both people in a partnership to be on the same page in terms of ambition and living at a similar pace? Or could it be beneficial if he is in a support role, especially if we do have kids? Lastly, even though I love Jesse deeply, I worry about whether I can, this is a big one, Doug, whether I can continue to respect him and find him interesting if his ambition remains static while mine continues to evolve. And on the flip side, what if he is going to eventually get frustrated with how much I work, how much I focus on my career, and what if he is expecting me to have more of a hands-on role at home with the kids?
I can barely sit in my seat.
I know. Liliana Capulia Lagrangia.
Lily and Jesse.
We love you.
Okay. Let's go. I'm going to go all over the place, and I'm probably not going to have any sequence that makes sense to anybody. First of all,
you have ADHD.
I do not have ADHD. I just have a really, really psychodynamic and interesting brain.
That's one way.
That's a joke. I want to say this. First of all, you know, I every once in a while, I've been asked, like, would I date someone without a college or master's degree or doctoral level education? 100% yes. And part of the issue for me, and I'm going to answer this question from this, like it would be about ambition, and it would be about motivation, and it would be about how that person worked. And again, I use the word oftentimes on these podcasts about contribution. You two get to decide what it is that this relationship is. And if Jesse was able to say to you, I appreciate everything you've done in terms of education and your career, I am not interested in going that direction, but I do want to make sure that we provide as much equally and mutually to this relationship as we can. If Jesse was somebody, and this is going to be my guess about this, if he was somebody who contributed in a way that made you feel really proud and made you feel like, despite maybe education is not it, you know, that he contributed to this relationship, and the two of you intellectually, emotionally had some, and physically had chemistry, I think you can endure anything. It is not about education. It's not about money. It is about the dynamic between the two of you and your chemistry. I want to jump to socialized expectations. And I think I really, really just, as I get older, I want to just abolish labels, and I want to abolish expectations, because everybody gets to decide individually what they want their relationship status to be, what they want their loves to be, what they want their dynamics to be. And what I encourage most of all in this type of situation, because you're giving some flags that you're starting to disrespect him, and that is a problem that can lead to resentment and contempt. Bless you.
Sorry.
It can lead to allergies and weird sounding sneezes that I don't know that I've even
I'm
heard.
sneezing because of my lack of respect for you.
By the time we're done with this, you will have a very different opinion of me.
No, I adore you and your brain.
So this is what I would say. I mean, I think you two have to communicate, like back to what it is that drew the two of you together and why you're in this relationship. Do you share goals? Do you share a plan for the future? What you think and feel and want and need in your relationship, is that shared? Because if that's shared, I think you can overcome a lot of this stuff. But if you start to disrespect him because he doesn't have the drive, you know, and I've been in a relationship where we had a very different experience and it was no longer compatible. And I did leave that relationship because the work that I was doing, this person that I was with could not relate to. And vice versa. Like I needed someone with more drive and ambition, and I did end up leaving that relationship. I think in terms of your circumstance, you have to talk to Jesse about this and make sure you two are on the same page, especially since you're talking about like kids, right? You want to model for your kids a relationship and a dynamic that you're proud of. You said something so interesting in this as well about like what it would be like if he played a supportive role. I value a great deal, given our culture, on people who can raise their kids, right? And not that there's anything wrong with daycare. It obviously gives an opportunity for a lot of structure and arts and crafts and socialization that our kids need and all that sort of thing. But I love that one of you might be able to stay home and raise your kids. But that's a humongous job, by the way. That doesn't have anything to do with motivation and ambition. It has a lot to do with how you make your family work and how you want your systems to work in your life. So I would say there has to be communication about this. If, however, what you're saying, and I think this might be it, I think what you're saying is that his ambition in general, whether it's about raising kids, whether it's about living this life, whether it's about how you manage your household, whether it's about, you know, his career ambitions, etc. If you don't have respect for him, I do see that as a red flag. I think it can be a real issue if you two are not on the same page with your goals. What do you think about this?
Oh my God, I've got so many thoughts about this, right?
Yep.
Because I mean, I feel like everything that you brought up, I was like, oh my gosh, I have something that I wanted to say. So, when you were talking about that, would you only date someone that has a, you know, college level education, master's level, doctorate, whatever? And you were like, absolutely not, because that's not a value to you. That has to be a match. Not everyone would answer the same.
I know. I'm aware of that.
So Lily needs to figure out, is that something that's going to eventually grate on you and wear on you if you're already thinking that you can't respect him or you won't be able to respect him because you want to continue to evolve and grow, and that one of your personal goals is to continue to push and grow and climb. Can you respect someone that maybe it's not ambition, but also maybe it's not complacency? Maybe it's just an internal, I don't know, satisfaction with who he is. Maybe he loves his life. And is that enough? Like, does he have to be constantly growing and evolving and pushing? Or what if he just really loves who he is, loves his life, finds his world very fulfilling? Yeah, agreed. If he is happy to take on more of a support role and cheerlead you and respect and encourage you to pursue your own personal dreams without him feeling like you're abandoning maybe him or the family, I feel like the personal goals and the relationship goals, I want those to be a part of the constant communication. It doesn't matter if your personal goals are up here and his are down here, as long as you're both feeling good about your life and satisfied and interested. I want you both to be encouraging each other to live your best lives, to be cheerleading each other. And I don't know, can you be interested in what his life looks like without judging him?
It's a really beautiful question. Like, I love that take on it, because what I wrote down as you were talking was relatability. Like, if after you come home from your work, if he has got dinner ready and he's done the grocery shopping and he's been child rearing, etc., if you can come home and he says, how was your day? And the two of you can talk as equals.
If
there is a and that's always the word I'm looking for, like relatability, though, at the end of the day, can you sit down, regardless of the differences in your day, and really have empathy and regard and understanding of that other person?
Yes.
Whereas if he's kind of like, you know what, that's way out of my league. I can't listen to any of your cases. I don't understand the law. I don't love that response. If he, however, is at a really busy day, I'd love to tell you about it, but tell me about your day. How is that case going? Or how is this going? And you saw intellectually and emotionally a compatibility, I think you're in good shape. I'm not sensing that is the case, and I don't love it. You really have to address directly kind of what your concerns are. I'm also going to say one of the sad pieces of this, I think, might be that I don't know that this changes a lot for people. Like, I don't think the person that Jesse is necessarily going to be this person that changes overnight. Like, I think ambition and drive, I think, you and I have talked about this related to our private practices. In order to be in private practice as a psychotherapist, you have to have a little bit of arrogance that you are the person that people are going to come to and they're going to pay for. And
I think it's also called a savior complex.
Yeah.
But it's reciprocal exchange of energy right there, which is different than if you take it on in your personal life, maybe.
No, totally. I think that's an interesting another conversation at some point about like why we become who we do. But I do absolutely. I had decided at some point I was the right person for people to pick to save their marriages or whatever it might be. So,
but are you saying that some of this might be like self-esteem and that you're worried that maybe Jesse isn't feeling like, or he won't be feeling like he can keep up with the conversation, or that?
Maybe, except, that's horrible.
I know, I hate that too. And I don't want people to give up, because even if you don't understand the law, it doesn't mean you can't be interested in the cast of characters.
Yeah, and I want to add something to that. I was working with someone recently, and I felt some of this dynamic, and I remember asking this person, like, do you become smaller in front of your partner to accommodate?
Such a good question.
Right? Like, do you find yourself socially and otherwise, like when people say, what do you guys do for a living? Which I fucking hate that that's something we start with usually in our culture, because it's somewhat irrelevant in some ways. And everyone should be proud of what they're doing, hopefully, regardless of what choices they're making, because we're not all the same. But I would say, if somebody, if you're embarrassed for him, or if you try to minimize your career to make sure that he's not as uncomfortable, because obviously you have a very dynamic career, education, all of the pieces that go with that, and your ambition and drive sounds good. But yeah, the thing is, and I really think that's one of the things I really hate most in relationships, is if I find somebody's kind of making themselves again smaller to accommodate. That's a concern. And so I don't wish for you to do that. You should be as bright and lively and full of satisfaction and proud of what you're doing with this life as you can. And you shouldn't pick somebody who is intimidated by that or insecure around that.
Like, they should be so proud of you, and likewise, you should be so proud of them.
And be the wind beneath your wings.
I was just thinking, like, what if we don't need Jesse to be any different than Jesse is? And also, I love what Doug is saying. I agree. I work with so many clients that are incredibly ambitious and are struggling to find a partner that can cheerlead them and not feel threatened by how bright of a star they are.
Yeah.
And also, here's the flip side. Sometimes it isn't low self-esteem if the person is less ambitious. Sometimes it's a feeling of not wanting to share the precious resource of time and attention and emotional connection, right? We kind of talked about this in our work spouse episode, that like sometimes if there's jealousy, it isn't that you've got this big, gorgeous job and I just sit at home with the kids. Sometimes it's like, wow, I wish you were as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and enthusiastic about your home life as you were about your work life. And wouldn't it be nice if you were interested in what I was doing home with your child and value my time? Like, my time is not less important than your time. That's the flip side of like, be your brightest, most beautiful self. Absolutely. And also respect and honor the person that you might think has, I don't know, a lesser career or life.
You know, my head goes in so many different directions here. And it's based on experiences I've had in my office, but also, I don't know. I mean, I start to like ramble in my head about like, so how does this come about when there's a trip being planned? If you make a great deal of money, more than he does? Do you upgrade to a different hotel? Do you plan different types of travel? Does that person feel okay with that? I'm going to also go to gender for a second, regretfully, and this is where, again, I want to throw socialization out of the window.
But also acknowledge
that men can feel a bit emasculated if they're insecure or not evolved.
I thought about it too. I didn't know if I was going to bring it up, but
I'm
going to
bring it up.
Bring it up.
Because I've asked about it. Like, I think there are, I don't think there's anything that can't be touched in therapy, which is probably why, people...
You're in jail. Just kidding. That's why we're doing this episode from the county sheriff's office.
Warden, I'm almost done. No. Here's what I want to say about that. I mean, I think that's it. I think men are socialized to be the breadwinner, to take care of things, and that is such bullshit. I don't know if that plays into this. I don't know if it plays into it for you. Because, I think there are women in relationships who feel as though they wish their man was more capable to take care of them, etc. I think about, what's that show with sex?
Show with
Dirty
sex.
Shades of Grey. Dirty Shades. 50.
Wow, 30 Shades. Wow.
I said dirty. Dirty Shades of Grey.
Wait, where were you going with 50 Shades of Grey?
After that book came out, there were a number of feminists who said women want to be treated as equals outside of the bedroom, but not in the bedroom. And I find that a troublesome generalization because all these dominatrixes, I can't speak for women. Dominate try. Is that what it is?
No, definitely not. Okay, another fascinating. I wasn't even going to go into this whole gender piece, but it is really this socialization. It is really interesting. I was listening to a podcast. I found it fascinating about why is the divorce rate so high? Why is it just going up and up and up? And then it was basically this guy. I don't remember if he's some sort of social scientist. I can figure it out. The idea here. Oh my God. Was that the reason why divorce rates are so high is because women are making more money and they're more educated and they don't have to put up with bullshit. So women not being financially dependent means they don't put up with stuff they used to have to put up with because they were financially dependent. I thought that was fascinating.
Part of the point here, and I appreciate that we're talking about gender because there are some stereotypes and there are some socialized beliefs. They all need to be thrown out the window. In fact, as I have been telling you, I really wish for our government to be run by women for a while to just see how amazingly different it could be.
I love that you said that. It made me want to cry. I felt
when I said that to you yesterday or the day before.
Feminist. Yes, and I love it.
I can't stand it anymore, guys. We are not doing the right thing. So in any case, I welcome the opportunity. So
I do have a note about this whole. Okay, so. It was based on an article. We could throw away the gender thing. It was 2016, which was 2,000 years ago, in Gender and Society, right? The idea is that, and this is something I want to know what you think about, for same-sex couples, hetero couples, couples with agreed upon and clearly defined roles experience less tension and greater stability. And that could be any couple, anytime, anywhere, if maybe there's an agreement about what the roles are. What do you think about that?
I appreciate that. That's part of communication. It's part of navigating what you're looking for in a relationship and what the goals are for that relationship. Talia, I just looked back at the write-in, and I'm really troubled that we missed something and didn't talk about it yet. He's a high school math teacher.
That's a great career.
I know.
Why are we talking about him as though he's
I think
homeless?
I just missed this. I heard it and then I passed by it.
Right.
I just want to make a little plug here. We expect teachers to take care of our kids the majority of the time of the day until they're 18.
There's no greater role and no one is less appreciated.
And so I'm finding myself a little bit I got flagged by it because I just went through it to make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to talk about.
Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because we were seeing him through Lily's eyes.
We were. So Lily, if you don't, like you said, he is perfectly happy with the idea of being a high school teacher forever.
Is that a problem? Summer's off, done it for changing young minds and hearts.
It still comes down to, Lily, if you do not value that and if you have a disrespect for him not wanting to be more. I'm not sure, again, if there's a more important role outside of some of the medical professionals that we have. I would say nursing and physicianing and teaching are critically important parts of the structure of our nation. So
I have another thought about like respect.
yeah, and so
And I'm sorry. Why
No,
don't
that's
you
really
finish
it.
your
I mean-
thought? Why don't you go ahead?
thank you. I appreciate you letting me know to do that.
Oh my God. This is the end of a long day of recording, and this is when we get like real squirrely.
So here's what I think about this. Like, it doesn't matter what any of us think about the value of his role in teaching, because it's critically important from where I sit, and an exemplary career. But I even tougher to do as our cuts get made. But I also want to say that you get to decide what you respect, and you get to decide what's important to you moving forward. You know, for example, travel, I'm just going to use myself again. Travel is critically important to me. And being able to travel to places around the world. I have a family trip to Asia next year, getting scheduled.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Thailand.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
that's where I went for my honeymoon.
Oh, been to Vietnam, been to Japan, Vietnam a couple times. So I'm ready to explore a little bit more. Anyway, plus the White Lotus is inspiring me, of course, like it is a lot of people.
So good.
So in any case, you know, I want someone who can do that with me and not feel like they're always following me. But I also equally would have no problem being partnered with someone that I paid their way, as long as, again, the contribution at home was different and I was getting what I need. And this goes to acts of, you know, how it is that you experience love and what you need from a partner. I need very basic things at this point. I don't need someone to financially be my equal. I don't need someone to, I probably need someone physically to be my equal, but you know, that comes in a variety of packages too. We need to be compatible physically, all that sort of thing. And we're not even talking about that related to you and Jesse. Like, is this difference in your ambition level impacting the other parts of your life, like the physical intimacy
Like the
piece?
attraction piece.
Yeah. And those are pieces to take a look at. Bottom line, all of it is about communication and making sure that you're checking in on this with each other and finding out what each other's experience is.
And I did want to circle back to respect, because sometimes I feel, and I know, like, I couldn't agree more. There is nothing more admirable than being a high school teacher, than being a teacher.
RESPECT.
And you know the saying, like, no small roles, only small actors. And I'm not saying at all that this is a small role. So I want to clarify that. But what I am saying is it's this idea of usually respect. It isn't about like, oh, I respect the money they make or that they're a director. It's this respect of like the way someone is in the world, who they are, the way they treat people, the way they engage, the way they show up. That's what makes us respect people. So that's just another reminder that we can be madly in love, feel like the luckiest person in the world because we love who our partner is. We have shared values, shared life goals. They're emotionally intelligent. Like, that respect piece feels really important.
Yeah,
Any last thoughts? Before
Well,
we wrap this one
I
up?
guess, you know, I find myself just much more curious about this. You know, going to the respect word, what is it about him you don't respect? Because you've talked about him being nurturing and supportive.
We don't know that she doesn't. I
Well,
think she's worried long term.
Ambition and living at a similar pace. This similar pace gets me triggered a little bit too. Like, what does that mean?
And that might never be. He might never be interested in that pace. And
Yeah, and in terms of ambition, going back, like when you create a plan for travel, for example, or you need some remodeling done in the house, or you're looking at furniture, like, does he contribute? Does he feel powerful enough to be a part of that process? There's a lot of different factors here about how that involvement and motivation and ambition shows up.
And a lot of times people, like, I don't know, I'm really torn because a part of me wants to say, can we just let Jesse be Jesse? However, I also feel like I've known so many couples, I know you have too, where like someone is like, I don't care what they're into. Can they be into something? Can they be, and we talked about like no shared interests earlier, but just the idea of like, I don't know if I can be with someone that is just complacent and hasn't learned anything new or hasn't wanted for more, right? Is what you were saying too, Doug.
Yeah.
And can't they just like want to grow a little? And there's this idea of like growth mindset, right? Where you can be growing and learning, but you do have to be someone who wants that for yourself. So maybe it does come down to that a little bit. Like maybe Jesse wants to grow, but in a more like a domestic, cozy way. Or maybe he wants to grow in a more introspective way. Is that still growing? Is that enough?
Oh, introspective is a good word. I'm finding myself really struggling with the idea that being a teacher allows you to have that much energy and motivation outside of school. I don't know any teacher that has that.
But would you could say the same for being a high-powered attorney at a law firm. I think it's
or a psychotherapist.
Internal drive.
Like we joke a little bit about this. If any, everybody knows I see 8 to 10 patients a day. I really love that drive.
I do not recommend.
It really works for me. But if I see 8, I can think afterwards and go to dinner. If I see 9, I might be okay. 10, I'm shot. Do not talk to me. I won't answer my phone. I won't text back.
I'm amazing for 5, and that 6th one is a real stretch. And I think I should be paying them if they're my 7th patient. You should find out, you guys, if you're Doug's patient 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you should ask for a discount. That's all I'm saying.
No, I think my clients at 5, 6, and 4, 5, and 6.
See, you can't even count in the right chronological
8, 9, 10.
I'm worried about him.
No, I'm talking about like my 5 p.m.
I know.
My
I'm
4,
teasing
5,
you.
and 6 p.m., which is my last 3. I think all of them would feel satisfied.
Friends, do you feel satisfied with this episode? If so...
That was actually a pretty smooth segue.
Thank you. We have so much fun. This is just the greatest. We had such a fun day of recording, and I hope that you got some value out of this episode. I mean, it's so many couples, and if you do want to see what we're wearing, because that's probably what you guys are thinking about most of the time that you're listening to us.
Or not wearing.
That's right. Doug is actually mostly naked every time we do these. We are on YouTube. We're Not Fine. And look us up on social media. We've got Douglas L. Johnson with an E-N, Dr. Talia Jackson, and We're Not Fine Pod. Anything else?
Yeah.
Oh, TikTok. We're Not Fine. Or maybe it's We're Not Fine Pod. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's amazing.
I also want to say go to we'renotfine.com and you can submit any questions or comments or anything you want us to follow up on, anything in addition that you want us to follow up on this episode. The person who wrote in, if you want to follow up with us and let us know how things are going, we'd love that as well. But anything you want to write to us, anything you want to say to us, any topic you want covered, please feel free to go to we'renotfine.com and we are there for ya.
Yeah, it's our favorite part
Y'all.
is the interaction and engagement with our listeners. We love it so much. Like us, subscribe, rate us, review us, send us to your friends. Do you know someone who's in a couple like this that you might want to just give them a heads up and be like, hey, I heard this interesting podcast? Well, let me tell you, you should. We love you guys.
Take care, everybody.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and guests. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. This podcast also does not establish a standard of care, doctor-patient, or client relationship. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website, and because each person is so unique, all listeners are encouraged to connect with counseling and medical professionals for assistance with their personal journey. All people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved.